The Almost Perfect Podcast.
Welcome to the Almost Perfect Podcast, a celebration of fuck ups, failures, and falling flat on your face. This is a podcast that believes you can learn from experience, but that experience doesn't have to be your own. Hi, I'm Bob Perfect, and I'm a functional fuck up. Let's learn from somebody's mistakes. And you'll notice I didn't say somebody else's mistakes, because today we're learning from me. Yes, me, again. It's going to be the third time we're doing this, although this time it's not really going to be a Q&A. Although we do have some Patreon questions. Basically, I'm going to talk through my experiences of the Heat City Comedy Festival and putting together my one-man show, The End of the World. I figured there's probably a few things that you could learn from it. I don't know. Probably a lot of things of what not to do. But also maybe a few things that you can spot and go, actually, yeah, that's a thing that maybe if I'm going to do something similar or even just something different and you learn something from it, that'd be pretty cool. For those of you who don't know, which would be a bit weird, but maybe you don't, I put together a comedy festival recently called the Heat City Comedy Festival. Did it for the third time this time, and I tried to go large. I definitely tried to go bigger and better than before, and that was a mistake, and I'll get into why just now, but we only know these things by trying, and I'm still glad I tried, and I'm still stoked with so much about the festival. Like, there's so many things like with the festival that I'm still really happy with, and I'm glad that I tried these things now, and I'm glad that I learned a lot of the things that I learned about it now. It was just really, really cool to bring, comedians from around the country, and quite a few of them, together here in Durban. That was, it was just really cool to do. I get to hang out with some comedians sometimes in other cities, but mostly, I stick to my old friends. I stick to the people I've known for ages, I stick to the people who, because I've been in the comedy scene for a while now, so I don't necessarily hang with the cats that I still, I don't know how to describe it, but basically the cats who are coming up still, even though I haven't come up. I mean, I'm still hopefully coming up, or maybe that's passed me by. I don't know at the moment. I'm kind of wondering. But yeah, so the younger cats, Lindy and Keenan and stuff like that, I've met them before. And I've got to hang out with them, a little bit before. But this was definitely, we got to hang out a lot more, especially with Chantal Jax, old Jax Justice. She was staying at my place, and so was Keenan a couple of the nights. Bongani Dube stayed over one night, which was rather entertaining for myself, and also rather frustrating the next day, because Bongani can be a bit much as a person, in person sometimes. He definitely takes up a lot of the conversation and draws a lot of attention to himself. So that can be a bit draining over long periods of time, as we all found out at the festival. But I still appreciate Bongani's comedy. I still appreciate him. And he's got such a brilliant joke that I heard on the Wednesday nights. I'm not going to share it with you guys, but it's one about basically, black fathers. And I'm not even going to go any further than that, because you if I give you any more of the premise, maybe you'll figure it out, maybe you won't. I don't know, but it's a really, really good joke. And so shout out to Bongani Dube. And yeah, shout out to everyone who came through to the Heat City Comedy Festival. They did it, on their own dime, and, they took risks just like I did. And for some people it paid off, for others it didn't. And that's one of the things I'm a little frustrated about. I wish that hadn't happened, but I mean, that's, I guess, the way these things go. And I understand that when I'm going, elsewhere, depending on the deals I have with people, sometimes you're not going to win. Unfortunately. And for some people who came, unfortunately, they didn't win in the financial sense. But most of them had a good time, I think. Everyone had pretty good feedback for the most part. And, I've heard some shit talking. Yeah, I've heard some shit talking. Don't worry. It comes back to me. But it's okay. I don't mind. I do wish people would bring up issues directly with me, rather than talking about them behind my back. But at the same time, I talk so much shit about, everyone behind their back. So I do. I'm not gonna fucking sit here I don't talk shit about, lots of people constantly behind their backs. It's one of the things I'm pretty good at, so I can expect a few people to probably talk some shit about me behind mine. So, yeah. It's definitely, like, I do wish people would bring up issues with me though, because I do want to improve things and I do want to make the fest better. And so next year, I'm hopefully going to team up with some other people. I've been chatting to potential investors and partners. I'm not going to mention who or what or how or why, but things are hopefully, yeah, it's not going to be all me, because that's definitely one of the things I learned from this year's festival, was that I can't like do it all myself. I can't, on that scale, do it all myself. And I didn't do it all myself, but like I did a lot of it myself. Um, I hired like, a designer, and I hired a PR person. The designer was Tasman Nadu, who is Taz Bedeviled. You can find her at, I think it's tasmannadu.co.za on the interwebs there. Check out her work if you enjoyed the logo and design work for the Heat City Comedy Festival. I really loved it. I think she knocked it out the park, and I'm keen to hire again for more stuff as soon as I can afford to, and as soon as I have stuff to hire her for. And then same thing with Illa Thompson. She was the person who did the PR, and she did a fantastic job. She got us in newspapers. She got me on TV. She did, a fantastic job getting us in the places that I asked her to get us into, because that's what I wanted. I wanted her reach in traditional media, and that's what she managed to get us. So her company is called Publicity Matters. So I recommend both of them highly. But other than that, most of it was done by me, like all the social media stuff, all the booking, all the, like everything. And it's a lot to do. It really is a lot to do. And, at the same time, I had to try and make my own money by writing, which doesn't pay that much. And just, I didn't get to create as many podcasts at certain times because, man, like I didn't think it was possible. And maybe it was, and maybe, but that's also the thing. If I was working with other people on the festival, then it would have been less responsibility on my shoulders. I would have been able to compartmentalize things more. I would have, been able to do more, or at least the festival would have been able to do more had I had other people working on it with me. So that's definitely one of the big goals for next year. And not just like hiring someone, but actually like having a partner in the whole festival. And so I'm chatting to people about that, and we'll see how that all goes. There's some cool ideas going around for next year. Obviously can't tell you any of them, but there are some interesting ideas, and I'm keen to see what we can still do with it, because I'm still super keen to keep trying to make this thing work, even though I'd say like this year was probably like 65% of what I wanted it to be, which is a pass. It's what, like a C or a D? I don't know. I used to get like B's and A's. I'm lying. I did used to get B's and A's. It was only really for matric that I didn't. But then again, I did my entire matric like syllabus in a month. So I was at Damlin. That's a long story. Maybe I'll tell it to you guys one day. But I guess the whole thing of like even that, me getting my matric in a month, it's like I always try and squeeze as much into time periods as possible. Though with this festival, I didn't not give myself time. I definitely I gave myself more time than I had last year when I did the festival, but I didn't necessarily I still I had to use I gave myself a longer run up, but at the same time I didn't necessarily have that much time, and because of all the other things that I had to do, and also as one person, it's quite draining, and just my creative capital wasn't necessarily there, for stuff like marketing and that. I didn't have any sort of creative bone in my body when it came to a marketing campaign or anything like that. So I definitely need other people on board when it comes to that sort of thing. And I also, like I said, I think I tried to overdo it. It could have been more of a B pass, an 80%. No, that's A. 70% pass. No. Yeah, so C is 60%. Okay, cool. I'm hoping I'm correct here. It's been a long time. But maybe in the 80%, if I hadn't tried to do so many days, if I hadn't added so many people to the lineup, and I condensed it a little bit more, Not starting the shows at 10:30 in the morning on the thing. Because, like, I have this idea of the festival being like a fringe festival, or like, the National Arts Festival, where there's just lots of shows going on all the time. People are super amped. Like, it's like, what show are you going to? You're going to this one, you're going to that one. And I don't think we really have that culture in Durban. And I shouldn't have necessarily tried to create it by doing so much. So, like, if I'd done fewer shows and, like, condense it a bit more, I think they would have all been attended a lot better and people would have been less divided. Because I don't think there is a bigger comedy audience in Durban, and I maybe didn't necessarily get to them, or I don't know, maybe the way I marketed it, or that's the thing, I didn't necessarily get to the greater Durban comedy audience this year, which is weird because they've come to years previous. I didn't necessarily get that follow up with certain people this year. Like, there were faces that I was like, I wonder why they didn't come. And then I chatted to them and they're like, they hadn't seen it. And that was really frustrating as well for me, because I'd spent quite a bit of money on, marketing, on Facebook marketing and stuff like that. And I think, I don't know how effective that is anymore. I don't know how useful that really is in terms of getting the word out there. I think it did help, and it does help when people are sharing things and, like, people are actually saying, like, hey, there's this thing. But I don't know if the sponsored post thing is really worth the money, since, like, just people who like the page, people who like comedy in Durban didn't necessarily see it, and I was trying to target stuff towards them. But I digress there a bit. I think, overall, I think we had quite a few people come through to all the different shows, but if we had just done fewer shows, then we would have had a lot of people at those few shows. But it was a bit spread out, and so some people didn't necessarily have as many people at their shows as they would have liked, or I would have liked. And, even my show, like, I would have liked a few more people than came, but I'm incredibly appreciative of the people that were there and just getting to do that whole thing. Like I'll get into it just now, I guess. I want to keep talking about the festival as a whole for now. Actually, I think what I'll do quickly is I'll answer some questions, and these are some Patreon questions. If you want to be a patron, you can go over to patreon.com/almost perfect, and you can become a subscriber there. I'm busy scrolling on my phone, that's why I'm busy mumbling to you. But if you want to support this, if you want to support these inane ramblings, then you can go on over to patreon.com and you can subscribe for as little as $1. And I'll give you a little bit of extra access. I'll allow you to do extra things. Sometimes there's giveaways, sometimes there isn't. And I'm actually working on giving some extra content. I'm writing for myself again at the moment. My girlfriend gave me some great advice after, watching the show, and just reminded me that, like, hey, you're actually a pretty good writer and you should write more, just in general, not for anything. And I was like, yeah, shit, I haven't done that in a while. Like, because I haven't really written not for an audience in a very long time, like, or without a predetermined thing. Like, most of the time, if I'm gonna write an article or whatever, that's I've chatted to an editor and been like, hey, can I write about this thing? Or they've been like, hey, can you write about this thing? And I'm usually like, yeah, and then I do. And same thing, like, with the show. It was like, with the one-man show, it was like, cool, I'm gonna write a one-man show. I've got an idea of what I wanted to do about. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do it. And now I'm actually just trying to write a few different things. I've started like a short story. I'm writing some poems. I'm doing a few different things. And so I might use the Patreon as a place to put some of those things. And so if you want to read some of my writings, I know it's like weird to put that behind a paywall, but also I'd like to maybe try to get some of it published one day. Yeah, I'm saying, like, I'm not writing for an audience, and I'm literally talking about the audience that's going to read it. But I think you understand what I mean. Like, I'm not writing for a publication. I don't have an editor, although I will with poetry stuff, like, eventually get someone to help me edit that if I do ever want to get it published. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. Anyway, point being, patreon.com/almostperfect, and you can maybe get to ask some questions like these two wonderful gentlemen who have been really supportive like throughout my career, and I'm really grateful for everything. So thank you very much to both of you, Gareth Morris Hale and Matthew Stroud. We'll go with Gareth's question at first. He asked best and worst things for me about the fest. I think I mentioned it in the beginning. The best is like getting to hang with like different comedians who I don't really know that well, and I don't really get to hang out with them that often. Like Chantal and I think really grew like a pretty close. I think we're friends now, and that's dope. Like I didn't really know her that well before. I performed one of her gigs in Cape Town. She runs Nomad there, and I got booked there, and then I had another gig. I can't remember what the other one was called. So I was like, yo, can I go on first? Just want to do 5. And I did 5, and I kind of pissed the audience off a little bit. But I got a few laughs, and I was like, cool, good enough. Let me like bail. They'll be better at the next gig. And then at the next gig, there was nobody there. And I was just like, oh, cool. I came to Cape Town to experience Durban. It was wonderful. So, yeah, that was like my experiences of Chantal. Was a brief interaction she was hosting, and I was a little volatile with the crowd. And yeah, we eventually, she hit me up for the festival. I managed to get her up here. She brought herself up here and slept on the couch. But I've got a lovely sleeper couch, so at least that's cool. And yeah, we just got to hang out and got to know each other a little better. Also, Keenan Surf, I've always like just dug that dude. Him and I hung out after I interviewed Dylan Oliphant, in Joburg. You can hear that podcast. So it was a couple months ago now. And yeah, after that podcast, met up with Keenan and Dylan, and we ate some chicken and chips. It was a good time, and I just like realized that they're both people who are on my wavelength and view the world in fairly similar ways. And so, yeah, getting to hang with Keenan again was dope. Like, he's also been on this podcast, so you can go listen to that. I'm a bit bummed I didn't get Chantal on the podcast, and I am looking to do that in the future. Her one-woman show was, like, really cool. I think she had one of the highest selling shows. It was her, Neil, and Dylan, and myself who had the highest selling shows at the festival. She markets it really, really well. She really pushed it. And, it's paying off for her. She's in the Comics Choice Awards, and even though I don't, like, subscribe to that shit at all, if you do, go vote for her. There you go. Like, that's as close as I'm coming to actually being a part of that shit. I'm just like, yeah, she's a really dope comic and a really dope person, and I want to see her succeed. So, if you're a part of that shenanigans, go on and throw a vote her way. And yeah, that was kind of the best stuff, was getting to hang out, like Eric Jansen as well. I've like, hung out with Eric a little bit, like at gigs when I'm in Joburg and stuff, but not a lot. And got to hang out with him a bit more, got to know him a bit better. He's elusive and private, and I dig that, but also really funny. And the car ride turn from the beach, I think we'll all remember the good times and the funniness and the laughter and some of the darkness that goes down when you're 4 comedians in a car together. Although I say 4 comedians in a car together, I think it was mostly just Eric and I who were taking things into super, super dark places. So yeah, that was fun. Like, that was some of the best thing. And some of the worst was just, oh man, the stress of all of it, like trying to manage everything together, and just it not necessarily, being as successful as I would have liked, like not having like full rooms every night. Like, there were nights where there were full rooms, there were like shows where there were like solid audiences, but there were also shows where they weren't, and those were really disappointing. Like, those like really hurt. Like, and they shouldn't, but they did, because I was thinking, this year, like, we're gonna build off of what we did last year. Like, it's just gonna be a continuation of like, because last year, like, I shortened it because the first year I did like 5 days, and so I shortened it last year, and then I was like, cool, this year's been pretty successful, we can expand it so we can get people from out of town in, and we can just make it this bigger thing. And it just, like, on some of the nights it was this bigger thing. It was like really, really cool. And others it was just like, fuck, I really fucked up. I should have like done more, or like should have done this differently. But that's the thing, like, it's only really by doing it that I can learn. And it's still, early in the festival's like lifespan, hopefully. Hopefully we still got many years ahead with this thing. Because I do want to grow the culture. Like, I do want it to eventually be like I was saying, like an NAF, yes, National Arts Festival, or like a fringe festival overseas, like where there's so many different performances, and not even that I'm running the whole thing. That I've got my section of it, and other people are booking stuff around it, and yeah, like it could be interesting to see if that could happen. I mean, that's always been the idea that I've had behind it, and there's a few venues I want to really try and use, and there's a few different things over the years that I'd like to expand into, but I don't think we're there yet. Not with comedy in Durban, and maybe not me, maybe not the, my marketing capabilities and power and budget capabilities. Because that was also, I think, one of the worst things was this year not being able to draw in large amounts of sponsorship. We did manage to get some sponsors. We had private people also like, donating money basically, which was really, really dope. And so, like I didn't take a big knock or anything like that from the festival, which is really dope. Even though, doing it without big sponsors, like it's really difficult. True, I don't know, like if you've never been in the events industry, I don't think you can even comprehend. Like it's like running a marathon without a leg, like but without the prosthetic either. Like you're just hopping, and that's definitely a lot more difficult than it needs to be. And so that's one of the things I definitely want to work on as well for next year, is just get more sponsorships involved. Unfortunately, it is necessary to make this kind of thing happen. I wish it could be independent. I wish it could be something that works on door money, but I don't, like, the finances won't work out that way, unfortunately. And it's just not really worth my time or other people's time if we do it that way. They're not going to get paid enough. I'm not going to get paid enough. And so, I need to make sure that that changes for next year. And so I've got some people working on that, and I myself will reach out. It was disappointing that certain local brands, didn't actually get involved. And I've even followed up with them and they haven't got back to me. And so, and it's annoying because I can see them working with a bunch of other people. And I'm like, okay, I see. But, no one owes me anything, so I can't be too pissed off about that. So, like, I've just got to find the people who do want to work with us and do want to build it and do understand the vision, and what it can bring to Durban. Because I do think the festival can bring a hell of a lot to the city. I want to make it into a destination festival, like a thing that people from outside of Durban come to. I think that's obviously the goal with festivals in general. Well, I don't know if people know that or think that way, or it is for everyone. I mean, the goal with this festival is obviously to first, build things in Durban, and then from there, bring people from outside Durban in. And we've done that with bringing people from outside of the city, and I want to keep doing that. I want to try and each year I think the lineup this year was really, 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 really good, and like not enough people saw some of the best acts in the country, and that's just frustrating me. And it's hard for me to like focus on the victories when there's that. It's just like, it's one of those things where it's like, I know there were so many great things about the festival, but some of, like, the small audiences for great acts is just, it's a very frustrating thing, and it's a very Durban thing a lot of the time. Although I know it does happen in other places. Like I said, I was in Cape Town, and there was a gig where there was literally no one there for the comedy. So, it's not just a Durban thing. And chatting to people after the show, after the festival as well, a lot of people have said, like, it's a downtime for comedy at the moment. If you look at the cultural landscape, like in Durban, like one of the other companies doesn't even, they've shut down their run of gigs. In Joburg, the Goliaths, they're like had to shut down their club, although they've got the Melville Comedy Club, which is dope. But in general, people are talking about things as though, yeah, there is a bit of a downturn when it comes to comedy in South Africa at the moment. I don't know how true that is. I'm not really like that. Like, it's weird. Like, I do comedy, but I'm not really that in touch with the industry. I'm kind of just doing my own thing. And yeah, like, so for me, there's always been an economic downturn when it comes towards the comedy thing. I've never really made a lot of money from it. Not yet, at least, but we'll see how time goes. Maybe it'll change. Maybe it'll change. That's kind of what I'm working towards at the moment. But next question. Yeah, sorry, that was a long ass answer to a pretty simple question. Yeah, some previous events you posted have fallen flat due to the lack of support. In what ways you surprised this time around? Ah, man, that's Matthew Stroud. And well, as you can see, like, I was kind of surprised in that people didn't show up sometimes this time around. Like, which shouldn't be a surprise, but it was because I'd planned for. Like, I thought I'd done more. I thought I'd done enough. And I was wrong. And I'm gonna learn from that. And once again, like, I keep harping on the fact that like some of the shows were empty, but there were like shows where it was completely and utterly packed out. And there were like, yeah, a lot of just solid, well supported shows. So yeah, I can't keep harping on about it, but you did bring it up. So yeah, like, it is a frustrating thing to deal with in Durban, that it is difficult to get people to shows. Although I myself am pretty difficult to get out the house these days. Granted, I did spend like over a decade of my life like going to gigs 2-3 times a week, 4 times a week sometimes, like when they were, and like bouncing between Bern and the Winston on the same night, and like written about stuff of organized gigs. I've done my time in the trenches, but it also, like, it isn't time in the trenches, it's just a nightlife, it's going out. But I do think people get tired of, like, people who do go out get tired of the politics of this entire stuff in Durban. I think, the social politics and that, so they might not necessarily like hang out in the same circles for long periods of time, or they do, or people just move, and so you're constantly trying to find new people to be your audience. And what else? I'm just trying to think of here with regards to this, like, yeah, also other people maybe just aren't necessarily as in tune or know about things, and so they would want to come to it if they knew about it, and just getting into their getting into their news feeds and getting into their timelines and getting in front of their eyeballs is something I need to work harder on for next year, because that's the thing. At the end of the day, it's hard to say people don't support if you're not providing what they want or letting them know about it. And maybe the philosophy of the festival isn't right for Durban, because while there were some big names on the lineup, like, I think they're huge, and I think a lot of the acts are great. Maybe Durbanites don't necessarily know who a lot of those names are. They're not as in tune with what's happening in comedy. And I don't know if most South Africans are as in tune, and I myself might find myself in like a little echo chamber, a little bubble where I see comedians and go, yo, those comedians are great, and I see all the work they're doing, and I see all of that because I'm in comedy. But the general public might have no clue who the fuck some of these people are. And I mean, like, that's kind of the point of booking them. That's kind of the point of also, but I'm also thinking that these people are draws, and maybe they weren't necessarily draws. So yeah, stuff to learn from. And so that's the thing. Surprises was, yeah, no, like, I don't really, have a good answer for you there, other than everything I've already said. But I appreciate the questions, Matthew, and I appreciate the question, Gareth, and I appreciate all of you for listening this far. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the one-man show now, I think that might be something some of you are interested in. It is still called The End of the World. And it's a show that's about the end of the world. It came to me after essentially, like, I've been doing some jokes about drowning polar bears and turtles, like with straws in their nose, and just environmental shit. And um, it is something that weighs on my mind a lot. It's stuff I've been thinking about for a long time, and the end of the world in general has always been a fascination of mine, and how it's all gonna happen. And so I figured, yeah, write a show about it because I've already got some of the material. I was like, well, that's a good starting point, and let me work off of it. And I didn't do a one-man show at last year's festival. I did do a one-man show at the festival before, so I figured, yeah, like, this is the year. Let me write another one. And yeah, I wrote. That was the big challenge with this. Was like, I wrote a lot of that stuff just. I just did it. Like, it wasn't like I wrote it and then I tested it at the club. I just wrote it and then I did it at the show. And that's not really done in stand-up comedy. But I kind of knew I would have a friendly audience. I kind of knew that the people that were coming to the show were going to forgive me for fucking up. And I did fuck up quite a few times. And I appreciate the love that was in the room that allowed me the freedom to do what I was doing and to have the fun that I had. Although at the time, I don't know how much fun I was really having. I was just frustrated with myself a lot of the time, like, because I didn't have the show waxed, and there's still, like, obviously I didn't have the show waxed because it's the first time I'm doing the thing. It's a whole, it's a whole new script essentially, like, that I didn't know all the jokes because with comedy, you practice them and then you tell them on stage, and then, as you tell them on stage, you get better at telling them. So telling jokes for the first time ever in a theater, like, I'd practiced like most of the jokes, but the order and stuff like that, it's doing all of that stuff for the first time without, knowing the rhythms, without knowing quite how it all goes. It was quite a challenge and quite daunting, and not something I felt like I was pulling off in the moment. When I was doing it, I was very in my own head, and I was very like, oh, you're fucking up, you're missing this, fuck, like, just lots of that kind of shit, just lots of hating myself. And even afterwards, I was just like super like anti. Where, like, people were complimenting me, people were like, yeah, great show, really loved it, that bit about this, that bit about that. Oh man, that was funny. Like, even the parts where you fucked up, you made it work, like, good job. And, just the whole time I'm just like, no, fuck, that sucked. And that's just, I don't know, like, I don't know why we do that to ourselves. Like, it wasn't, Carlin on fucking Broadway, but, like, I'm not Carlin, and I wasn't on Broadway. And, you got a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. So yeah, like, that's the thing. This is a work in progress, I guess. It's something that, I need to bounce off more audiences more often, and I can get the mechanics right. And I'm rewriting. Like, there were some cool things that came up with, like, at the show that I'd never said before, I'd never thought before, and that's always fun. That's always, like, the best part of doing stand-up comedy, and especially when you could do it in a one-man show. And having the freedom to do that was absolutely wonderful. Even though, like, at times I was very much in my own head, and I might have come across as hating myself and the show afterwards, because I kind of did. But, looking back, I'd had quite a lot of fun, and I really did enjoy it. It's just, I can be a negative Nancy, and I can hop, like, I don't know if you picked that up from this podcast. I, like, very much see the flaws in things, as people who, like, have, like, lived with me or just, been my friend know. Like, I pick, like, up the flaws in lots of things, and I do point them out, and I do the same thing with myself. And, it's not necessarily the most healthy or helpful thing, although it is in terms of perfection. Although at the same time, it can give you insecurities that hold you back from actually achieving perfection, from actually letting go, from actually being open and honest, which are things that like I do value in art, like that I do aspire to and want to achieve. But at the same time, I know like my insecurities mean I've got like huge walls up, and like prevent me from being as good an artist as I want to be. And so, that's stuff I'm kind of trying to work on. As I think you're figuring out by me telling you all of this. I don't know how entertaining this is, and I'm apologizing. I don't know. Fuck you. I don't need to apologize to you for not being entertaining, unless you're a patron on Patreon. Then I'm sorry if you don't feel like you're getting your money's worth here. But also at the same time, fuck you. You don't deserve shit. Yeah, I don't know how entertaining this has been, but hopefully it is useful information. It's kind of weird to just do stream of consciousness shit like this. I mean, obviously some of you might dig it. Like but that's my insecurities. Once again, me going, why would anyone want to listen to me talk about this stuff? But I do have useful experiences, and they are, stuff other people can learn from and also be entertained by. Maybe. But I'm also one of those people, and I do understand that when I've got a bit of time to write about stuff, I can make it good. I can make it better. I can package it better. And I think that was some of the frustrations I had with the show, was because of all the other stuff with the festival, all the other priorities that I had. I didn't necessarily have the show packaged as well as I wanted. I didn't know it as well as I wanted to know it. And I didn't necessarily I didn't finish it. And this kind of feels a bit like my matric syllabus, which I mentioned earlier, where I'll tell you the matric syllabus thing, because this is, just something that happened so I did my matric through Durban. I've mentioned this actually in a previous episode. I'm pretty sure I've spoken about it. But basically, I did my matric through Durban, and I fucked around for the whole year. I didn't do trials, I didn't do shit, and then it was like, oh yeah, finals are coming up, and literally hadn't written a test, hadn't done anything. I'd opened one of the books once, and I think I started one of the assignments, but that was about it. And then it's a month and a bit out, and it's exam time, and I'm like, oh, okay, probably time to start doing some shit here. And so I learned as much of the matric syllabus as I could, and I passed. So go me. And that's kind of what the festival feels like. Well, the show feels like, except I wasn't necessarily procrastinating. I was working on other stuff at the same time, and it was exhausting, and it didn't allow me the space that I needed and the time that I needed to necessarily do the show as well as I would have liked to. And so, I'm going to keep working on it, and I want to take it to other places. I want to take it to Joburg. I want to take it to Cape Town. And I want to take it anywhere else where people would want to watch it. It's just that's a weird and daunting thing at the moment, because I didn't get 100 people to the show in Durban, my hometown, where lots of people know me and presumably kind of like me. Although I don't know how many people like my comedy. I don't know how many people engage with it. I don't know necessarily. I mean, I guess I kind of know, because I know how many people were at the show, and it wasn't 100, unfortunately. And I say 100 because that's how big the theater is, and that is a long-term goal. Well, not that long-term, hopefully, but ideally I would like to at some point fill 100 seats in Durban, in my hometown. And that is kind of one of the reasons for doing the festival. While there are these grander things, these big ideas of helping grow the scene here in Durban with this festival, and just creating a cool cultural space and a cultural event for Durban that challenges people, that entertains people, and just provides something different, man, in this town that can be pretty backwards at times. So I'm just trying to provide that platform. But I would be lying to you if I didn't say a lot of it's also to try and create a platform for myself. I do believe that a rising rising tide floats all ships, or floats all boats, whatever floats your boat, and rising tides will float mine. So I want to do that. I want to, help the entire thing so that it helps me as well, so that more people come to my shows. But it's like, it is a little disappointing that I'm not yet at that point where I can draw, 100 people to my own show in Durban just yet. Like, I, I want to be there, that's the thing. Like, I'm not gonna say like I feel like I should be there already or anything like that. I just, I want to get there, and I don't necessarily know what more I need to do. I need to work with other people. I need a team up. I need someone to help me with marketing and that sort of thing. Um, I don't know. I need to change my public image, or just somehow convince people. Well, I guess the plan with the show, I'll tell you, is in itself a way to hopefully get my name out there a bit more. Shout outs to Cam Lovestrand for the poster, for one. I think it's incredible. He nailed the brief, and it shows everything like that. A lot of the things that I talk about in the show, and he, like, I was saying to him, like, yo, please do this, please do that, please do this, and he just did it all. So I'm super stoked. He even added in a few different things that added such dope little flourishes to the poster. So I think that just as visual identity helps a lot, and helps get me out there a bit more, as well as just sells the show so well. So fuck yeah, thank you, Cam. But yeah, like, I want the show to be good. I want to make it good so that people tell other people about it, that they go, yeah, I saw that show, it was great, it taught me stuff, it it taught me stuff, and it made me laugh, and it made me question my own existence, and the whole point of everything that we're doing on this earth. Small things, just nothing too hectic, just light fluffy topics. But that's the thing, like, I do think there is an audience for that in this country. I just don't necessarily have them yet, or I don't necessarily have people's trust yet in my abilities as a comedian. But I do want to, use this as a vehicle to hopefully get my name out there a little bit more, hopefully create some sort of buzz, not like, big buzz, just enough that people go, yeah, I know who that guy is, and I want to see him do comedy some more. So that's the goal. I'm trying to make the show better. I'm rewriting stuff. I'm working on it more, and I just need spaces to perform it, and I need people to perform it too. So I am going to try and bring it around the country. I'll perform in your fucking lounge, by the way. If you have a lounge and you want me to do the end of the world in your lounge, just let me know. Just, you don't even need 100 people. You don't even need 100 people. Like 20 to 30. If you can provide a lounge and 20 to 30 people, I'll happily come do my one-man show at your place. Because that's the thing, I do just want to get it waxed, and I do want to share these ideas, and I do want to share these jokes, because there's a lot of good jokes on it, I think. It's just my performance that's lacking, and I can get that. I can work on that. And I can also work on the jokes and get them tighter and make them better, and help get some of the ideas across even better, because I'm super proud of, there's this concept, it's a thought experiment called the paperclip maximizer, and it's basically about general artificial intelligence that destroys the fucking world and maybe the galaxy. And I found a way to explain this to people that's pretty funny. Like, it got some big ass laughs. People, really enjoyed it, and people spoke to me about it afterwards. And yeah, that was the cool thing about the show, man. Lots of people came up to me afterwards and were just speaking about it, and just being like, yeah, we really like this, but we learned about this, I didn't know about this. And so, I'm hoping more people get to come and watch it, and get to learn from it, and get to be entertained by it, and walk away with something from it. And through that process, hopefully my career can grow a little bit, because I do feel frustrated with, my lack of audience. If I'm honest with you, I don't have enough people coming to watch me do comedy for it to be a sustainable career. And I know like most people in this country don't. Like, most clubs don't have people going to watch those specific comedians a lot of the time. Or, sometimes people see one person on the wall that they know and they'll go, oh, let's go see that. And you see everyone else and everyone performs comedy that's good and, that does well for their 5 or their 10 minutes and that. But I'm just like tired of doing that kind of thing at the moment. And I want to like talk for an hour about like bigger things. And I want to, yeah, just have people like coming and supporting me. And like I know like that it's a bit of a weird thing to admit to, but like maybe no, that's not a weird thing to admit to. That's something we all want as artists, I would assume. I would assume that like of course you want people to come and fucking watch you, but I feel like I'm not meant to, like in a weird way. Or, it's okay because that is just how the industry is. Most people, that perform stand-up comedy for a very long time are doing it to maybe 2 or 3 people in the audience who even know who they are, like before they get on stage. And at the same time, I mean, I guess like I've just like been, I don't know, not like the best comedian on the circuit, but it's also because I'm just not trying to be the best comedian on the circuit. I'm trying to fucking say some shit with jokes, and that's not always conducive. But at the same time, think I've learned to be fairly entertaining from all the club gigs and shit, and I've learned to interpret it with all the deep science stuff and fucking philosophical ideas that I try and get across in the end of the world. So yeah, hopefully I can take it around the country. Hopefully more people want to come watch it. Hopefully you can come and watch it and then tell your friends about it, and I can set up more shows and just create a bit of a thing with this show. That's the goal. That's the hope. That's the dream. And it probably won't happen quite that way. But either way, I'm going to try and perform it as many times as I can between now and next year's festival. And then at next year's festival, the goal is to record it and then put it out there somehow. I don't know how just yet. If, like obviously I would love to get it on TV and that kind of thing if it's possible. But also if not, there's always YouTube. I'm a big fan of the internet. I'm a big fan of free distribution. So if you're one of the people overseas who's listening to this and is being like, hey Bob, I really want to see that show, I just can't because obviously I'm not there in Durban, or I'm not going to be in whichever city you're going to. Where can I see it? Well, at some point you will get to see the show, and then once that's done, I'll write a new show, and then I'll keep doing that because that's essentially what I want to do. I know club comedy is important and I enjoy doing it sometimes, and I know I shouldn't necessarily admit that, but it's not always fun and I don't always enjoy it. And lately I'm very much in that phase, and I'm not in the I don't want to do comedy phase. It's just like I don't want to go beyond another lineup phase. And like that's no disrespect to anyone else, and that's no like illusions of grandeur or whatever, because I know I'm not like a headline act in a lot of people's eyes. So I don't like, that's the thing. It's not like I'm a better than everyone kind of thing. It's just a personal choice kind of thing. It's just a frustration with the system and the scene and the way things are, I guess. And I just have this desire and this need to do something longer, something more meaningful, something more important. And I feel like the end of the world is that. I feel like it's, something like I did Beelzebub and I only did it once. And, like a part of me feels like that's a negative, but at the same time, I'm quite stoked about that because it wasn't that good. Like, it was fun. There was some, like, there's a lot of decent material in it, but as a, like, show, as a cohesive thing, it didn't really say much other than there is no God and I'm a bit of a fuck up. And this show like says a lot more than that. It speaks about greed. It speaks about like humanity, and it speaks about blind fucking chance. It speaks about science. It speaks about, like I say, philosophy, and that it speaks about a lot of different things. And I think there is a there are cohesive threads to it. I've worked hard on this fucking show. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say. I've worked really fucking hard on this show, and I want people to see it. And I'm gonna work even harder on it to make it better. And I'm gonna work fucking hard to try and get it in front of you. And all you need to do is come and fucking watch it. Okay? Please. That's all I need from people, is to actually come and watch me do some stand-up comedy. And yeah, that'll maybe make me happy. I don't know. I'm relatively happy as it is. I'm quite stoked that whoever you are, you have listened this far to the podcast, because it's been a bit of a rambly one, and I'll see how the edit turns out. But I do genuinely want to say thank you, and I want to say thank you to everyone who came to the comedy festival, because like, once again, like, I feel like that part of me that like always sees the negatives means that the positives don't get their props, and like the people who do support don't necessarily get their props. And like, I am supported, like I am, like, it might not be by enough people to make it financially sustainable yet, like as a career in the arts. And like, obviously that's my goal with my comedy and with this. And I mean, I love writing, but it being my job sucks. Like, that's not a fun way to make a living. Like, and I think most other writers will agree with that. And personally, like, it's not just about having fun, obviously, but I want to write different things, and I am doing that, like I mentioned earlier, and I am enjoying writing that a bit more. But I am a little bit tired of writing about musicians, and I love musicians like dearly, and I fucking hate them so goddamn much as well. But you know, like, I am just tired of retreading the same subject matter. And, you know, like, I'm enjoying this platform. I'm enjoying stand-up comedy. And I'm hoping I get to enjoy writing different things. And either way, like, I do just need to grow an audience a bit more. Well, constantly. I mean, that's the thing. Like, as artists, we are always trying to do that. Like, the thing is, we're trying to express ourselves firstly, I think. Well, for myself, that's always the goal first. And then it's trying to attract enough people to, you know, support that thing, so you can live, so you can be financially stable, so you can, you know, go on fucking holidays. And I don't know, just buy more books, because that's essentially what I would spend my money on, and some magic cards probably. But yeah, like, just a little more financial stability, and also obviously the ego thing, man. It's nice to perform to more people. So fuck, I keep retreading the same stuff, like, and like, I want to say, like, I am really grateful for those of you who do support me. There are so many of you. Like, and I really am super fucking grateful for that. From the patrons to the people who came and watched the show, to those of you who just listened to this, to those who have, you know, read my stuff for years, who like silently just like things, and like not even like things, not even shared things. Those of you who've just quietly, you know, been there and gone like, fuck yeah, dude, righteous, I dig what you're doing. Thank you for all of that, because yeah, it really does keep me going, and it does allow me to know that I'm not, you know, going crazy here, that I'm not doing this just for myself, and that, you know, there are other human beings on the other side of this microphone, and, you know, that counts for in here, and that does count for on the stage as well. So I really appreciate that, and thank you for your time, your attention, and your love, and I love you too, and I look forward to bringing you another Almost Perfect podcast next week.